Captain Elias Marlowe had always believed that space was not only a frontier but a test. A test of courage, of intelligence, and of humanity itself. Today, as he peered out of the observation deck of the starship Horizon, he felt the familiar mix of excitement and caution. The planet before them, Scifi, shimmered in a strange green and blue light. Its vast forests floating above crystal-clear lakes like suspended gardens. Sensors indicated rich deposits of energy crystals, rare resources that could transform humanity's technology for decades. But Elias knew the planet's beauty might hide dangers. "Captain," said Lieutenant Rena Cho, her voice calm but tense. "Sensors detect signs of advanced life forms. Their technology is unusual. I've never seen energy patterns like this anywhere else." Elias nodded, resting his hands on the edge of the console. "Then, we're not just explorers," he said softly. "We're diplomats, too. Remember, Rena, first contact is always delicate." The shuttle touched down gently on a clearing amidst floating crystal trees. The human crew wore standard exploration suits, their visors reflecting the sparkling environment. Elias was first to step out, feeling the subtle pull of Scifi's gravity, slightly lighter than Earth's. The air was breathable, fresh, and tinged with a faint, luminescent fragrance. They had barely taken a few steps when movement caught Elias's attention. From the shadows of towering crystal pillars emerged a figure unlike anything humans had seen. She was tall and elegant, her movements fluid, as if she were part of the forest itself. Her armor glinted like polished gemstone, hiding her completely. Yet there was an aura of grace and power that drew every eye. "Who approaches?" Elias asked, raising his hand in a gesture of peace. The figure stopped, tilting her head, and her voice came out clear and melodic, even through a hidden voice modulator. "Do you wonder what's beneath this armor?" Elias blinked. For a moment, he hesitated. Most first contacts involved cautious scanning or formal greetings. But this was different. The tone was curious, almost playful, and it demanded an honest answer. He took a careful step forward. "Yes," he admitted. "I do wonder. But I do not assume anything. I only wish to understand." There was a pause. Then, with a tilt of her head, the figure stepped closer. "You are brave. Or foolish. Perhaps both." She glanced at the humans behind Elias. "Your kind is unusual. Most species fear what they cannot see. You face it with questions instead of weapons." Elias allowed a small smile. "We believe courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it." The armored figure studied him, then slowly raised her hand in a gesture that seemed both formal and inviting. A subtle hum emanated from the crystals around them, responding to her presence. "I am Princess Lysera of Scifi," she said. "And you, human, have surprised me." Elias nodded. "I am Captain Elias Marlowe, representing Earth. These are my crew members. We come in peace." Lysera's gaze swept over the group. Her armor caught the sunlight, scattering it into brilliant patterns across the crystal forest. "Peace is rare," she said, almost to herself. "It is fragile and often ignored." She paused, then her voice sharpened. "Yet, here you are, unarmed with malice. Tell me, Captain, why do you wear this armor?" Elias looked down at his own suit, a simple protective exosuit, designed for exploration and emergencies. "Protection," he said simply, "but it is not what defines me. What defines us is how we act, even while protected. How we choose kindness, courage, and understanding." Lysera tilted her head, as if weighing his words. "Interesting. Very interesting. Perhaps your kind is unlike any I have seen." Suddenly, a subtle vibration passed through the crystal forest. Elias stiffened. He had sensed the calm, before storms before. And this was different. Lysera noticed, her hand moving instinctively toward a hidden device on her armor. The hum around them grew louder. "Captain," Rena whispered, "we are detecting multiple life forms approaching. They are armed." Elias turned to see shadowy figures moving between the crystal pillars, alien shapes, clearly more aggressive than Lysera. The humans readied themselves, but Elias held up a hand. He didn't want to start a fight. Not yet. Lysera's voice cut through the tension. "Do not fear, Captain. These are my guards. But they do not attack. They test the worth of visitors. Many before you have failed." Elias's brow furrowed. "Test? What kind of test?" Lysera's armor shimmered as she moved closer to Elias. "A test of spirit. Not strength. Not weapons. Not technology. Only the choices you make. And the courage you show. Step wrong, and you will regret it. Step right, and, perhaps, you will teach us something new." Elias met her gaze steadily. "Then, we will do our best to step right. Not for glory, not for power, but because it is the right thing to do." The princess paused, and a faint smile seemed to form beneath her helmet. "Your honesty. It is rare. Come, Captain. Let us see if your actions match your words." Without another word, she led the humans deeper into the crystal forest. The floating trees glimmered with energy, and the air seemed alive with intelligence. Elias noticed that every movement of Lysera and her people resonated with the crystals, almost as if the forest itself acknowledged her presence. Rena whispered, "I've never seen anything like this. It's beautiful, but also dangerous." Elias nodded. "We have to respect both, or we won't survive." As they walked, the humans realized that Zyphora's creatures, some small, some enormous, watched silently from the shadows. None made a move to attack, yet their presence reminded the humans that this was an alien world with rules humans didn't yet understand. At last, they reached a vast clearing. In its center, a crystalline platform pulsed with light. Lysera stopped, turning to Elias. "This is where your test begins. Not of skill, not of weapons, but of understanding. Will you act with wisdom, courage, and respect, even when you do not know what comes next?" Elias met her gaze. "Yes, we will try. And we will not hide behind fear or assumption. We will face it, honestly." The princess studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she removed a small portion of her helmet, revealing only her eyes. They were bright, intelligent, and strangely human in their emotion. "Then you may surprise us," she said softly. For Elias, a shiver ran down his spine. The adventure of first contact was no longer theoretical. It was here, in the crystal forest of Zyphora. And it was personal. The story of humanity on this distant world had just begun. And the alien princess had just met a human who dared to see beyond the armor. The crystal forest stretched endlessly around them, floating trees shimmering with light. Each tree seemed to hum with a rhythm that humans could feel in their bones. Captain Elias Marlowe followed Princess Lysera, his senses alert, aware that this journey was more than a walk. It was a test. "Stay close, Captain," Lysera said, her voice calm but firm. Elias nodded. "We will not disappoint you," he said, though he was unsure what exactly would be expected. His crew mirrored his determination, their faces reflecting curiosity and caution. As they moved deeper, the ground beneath their feet seemed unstable. Floating crystal platforms shifted slightly, suspended in midair. One wrong step could mean a long fall into the glowing lakes below. Elias led his team carefully, stepping only where the crystals glowed brighter. "This place is like nothing I've ever seen," whispered Lieutenant Rena Cho. "It's alive, almost like it's testing us." "You're not far off," Elias said. Stay focused. Watch the light patterns. They may be giving us the path. Suddenly, the forest shifted. A series of crystal pillars rose from the ground, forming a labyrinth. Elias instinctively grabbed Rena's arm. We need to move carefully. Observe before acting. Princess Lysera stopped and turned toward him. Good. You see patterns. You do not rush. That is unusual. She raised her arm, and the pillars shifted slightly, opening a path. Follow me. But beware. Challenges are coming, and they will not wait for hesitation. As they advanced, small creatures scuttled across the crystal pathways. They were harmless but quick, like living shards of light. One leapt onto Rena's shoulder, startling her. She froze for a moment, but Elias calmly stepped forward. Gently, he said. He reached out and guided the creature back to the path without harming it. Lysera's eyes narrowed slightly. You show restraint. Most species would strike first, ask questions later. Humans, you act differently. Elias shrugged. We value life. Even creatures that seem insignificant may have a role we do not understand. The princess said nothing, but Elias noticed a slight nod. They continued, moving through the labyrinth until the first real challenge appeared. A narrow crystal bridge suspended over a deep chasm. The bridge glowed faintly but seemed fragile. A wrong step could snap it. Elias examined it. We need to move in single file. Watch for vibrations. Small steps. Trust the bridge, but do not assume it is stable. He led the way, each step careful and deliberate. Behind him, Rena and the other crew members followed, testing each step before committing. The bridge wobbled slightly under their weight, but their patience and attention paid off. Halfway across, a sudden tremor shook the platform. One of the crew slipped slightly, and Elias reacted instantly, grabbing her arm and steadying her. Careful. Slow. Steady. And focused. Lysera watched silently. When the group reached the other side safely, she finally spoke. Quick thinking, calm in crisis. Humans show something different. Resilience. Ingenuity. These are qualities our technology cannot teach. Elias smiled. We learn from each other, from our mistakes, from our instincts. That is our advantage. Lysera gestured to a glowing crystal formation ahead. The next test is not physical. It is of judgment and empathy. One of my people will approach. You must decide how to act, not with weapons, but with understanding. A small figure appeared between the crystals, its body shimmering with energy. It looked frightened, retreating at first, but its eyes were filled with pain. Elias instinctively stepped forward. It needs help, he said. He crouched slightly, hands open. Calm. We mean no harm. The creature flinched, then moved closer, sensing the sincerity in Elias's posture. Rena and the others followed his lead. They worked together to help the being navigate the uneven crystal platforms, guiding it safely to a glowing pool of water. Lysera's voice carried softly through the forest. You see value in life, even when it is not your own. That is rare. Most species exploit, dominate, or ignore. Humans, you inspire trust without force. Elias looked at the princess. Respect and understanding are stronger than fear and aggression. That is how peace begins. The small creature emitted a soft glow and then disappeared into the forest, leaving behind a faint trail of sparkling light. Lysera's armor shimmered as she nodded. You have passed this trial, but the next will test your courage, not your empathy. They reached a clearing dominated by a towering crystal spire. From the shadows emerged several large, floating drones, energy crackling around them. Their eyes glowed red, scanning the humans. Elias instinctively reached for his comm. Shields up, he ordered, though he did not intend to attack. Defensive positions. Observe, first. The drones approached, but instead of attacking, they circled, testing their targets. Elias realized the trial was to remain calm, under threat. Any aggression could provoke them. He signaled his crew to hold steady, remaining calm himself. Minutes passed. The drones scanned, pulsing energy waves through the air. Elias did not flinch. He watched patterns, noting their movements, predicting their paths, and positioning his team safely. Finally, the drones stopped and hovered. Lysera's voice echoed softly. You have remained calm, composed, and protective. Most species panic. Humans, you act with mind and heart together. That is why you survive. Elias exhaled, tension easing. We do what we must, and what we believe is right. The princess finally removed her helmet completely, revealing her face for the first time. Her eyes sparkled like twin moons. You are remarkable human. Perhaps the stories of your kind are not exaggerated. Perhaps there is hope for my people to learn from you. Elias bowed slightly, not out of fear, but in respect. Hope grows where courage and understanding meet. Perhaps together we can learn more than either of us could alone. Lysera's gaze softened. Perhaps. She gestured toward a path that led deeper into the forest, glowing faintly with crystalline light. The trials are not over, Captain. But you have shown qualities most species cannot. Curiosity, courage, compassion. The heart beneath your armor is strong. Elias felt a surge of determination. The first test had been passed, but he knew this was only the beginning. Xiphora was not just a planet of beauty and crystals. It was a world that demanded the best of any who entered. As the humans followed Lysera into the deeper forest, Elias felt a quiet thrill. For the first time, he realized that humanity's true strength lay not in weapons, not in technology, but in the choices they made, the courage they showed, and the respect they gave even to beings unlike themselves. And somewhere deep in the glowing forest, the alien princess began to wonder if perhaps humanity could teach her people something far greater than the clever use of technology. Perhaps they could teach them the meaning of heart, courage, and honor. The deeper they moved into Xiphora's crystal forest, the air seemed heavier with energy. Each step the human team took echoed faintly against the floating trees, leaving glowing footprints that vanished within seconds. Captain Elias Marlowe walked beside Princess Lysera, feeling a growing curiosity about the alien civilization. This planet was unlike anything humanity had encountered, not just in technology, but in culture, art, and the connection its inhabitants shared with nature. Captain, Lysera said, her voice quiet but firm, you have passed the first trials. Your courage, your patience, and your respect for life are clear. But now comes a test of understanding, not of what you can see, but of what you can perceive. Elias nodded. I am ready. They reached a clearing where a massive crystalline palace rose from the forest. Its walls reflected the light from the floating trees, scattering rainbows across the ground. The humans paused, awed by the sheer scale and beauty. Rena whispered, It's like a city made of living light. Lysera led them inside, her armor glinting with energy that seemed to resonate with the palace itself. You are the first humans to enter this place, she said. Few outsiders ever see it. What you are about to witness is a secret few, no one that shows the heart of Xiphora's people. Inside, the palace was a labyrinth of floating crystal platforms, connected by shimmering bridges of light. Energy flowed along the walls in streams, casting moving shadows that seemed almost alive. At the center of the palace, a chamber pulsed with soft blue light. In the middle stood an armored figure, Lysera's personal armor, separated from her body. Elias stepped closer, curiosity burning. It's beautiful, but it looks like more than just protection. Lysera nodded. It is. My armor is not merely metal or crystal. It is a symbiotic interface that merges with my body, enhancing my senses, strength, and agility. It responds to my thoughts and emotions. Most would see only the surface, but it is alive in a way. Rena leaned forward, fascinated. Lysera smiled faintly. Yes, and it is also a test of perception. Many visitors focus on the armor, on the strength it offers, but few notice the mind, the heart, and the spirit within. That is the true essence of power here. Elias studied her carefully. It reminds me of humans. We wear armor, too metaphorical armor. We protect ourselves with discipline, courage, and moral choices. But what matters is what lies beneath. The heart, the choices, the willingness to act rightly. Lysera's eyes widened slightly, clearly impressed. You understand. That is rare. Most species see only strength and technology. You see the spirit behind it. Before Elias could respond, an alarm echoed through the palace. The light streams flickered, and the crystalline walls vibrated slightly. Lysera's expression shifted to one of concern. What is happening? Elias asked, tense. A rival faction has entered Zyphora, she explained. They seek the energy crystals for themselves. They do not care for life or balance. Their arrival will disrupt everything. You must remain calm, Captain, and act with wisdom. This will test your humanity more than the previous trials. Elias nodded. We will help. Humanity does not abandon those in need. Lysera led the humans through a series of corridors to a balcony overlooking the crystal plains. There, distant shapes moved sleek, armored figures advancing with weapons designed to drain the planet's energy. They will destroy life to take the crystals, Lysera said. We cannot allow it. But you must know they are stronger than you in technology. Strength alone will not win this. Elias thought quickly. Then we must use strategy, patience, and intelligence. Observe, adapt, and use the environment. Your energy flows. The crystals themselves, everything can be an advantage if we think carefully. Lysera nodded approvingly. You act as your people always do, using courage, ingenuity, and morality together. Few species think this way. It is why humans survive. The humans and Lysera's loyal guards prepared defenses. Elias coordinated the positioning of human shields, scanners, and communication lines. But he knew the real advantage lay not in firepower but in creativity and understanding. He instructed his crew to use the forest's floating platforms to their advantage, creating barriers and ambush points while conserving energy. As they worked, Lysera watched him closely. You lead not with fear, but with thought and compassion, she said. It is unlike anything my people expect from outsiders. Elias glanced at her. We lead not just with strategy, but with values. Courage without morality is empty. Strength without respect is dangerous. Humans have survived because we combine heart and mind, even in conflict. Lysera's gaze softened. Then perhaps humans are not just visitors, Captain. Perhaps you are teachers, not of war, but of spirit. A sudden tremor shook the palace, and a drone from the rival faction appeared, probing the defenses. Elias analyzed its patterns, noticing a slight delay in its reactions. It is fast, but predictable. Use timing and positioning. Focus on defense first, then counter. Rena whispered, Captain, it's almost like they are testing us too. Yes, Elias replied. But we will show them what humanity can do, not just with weapons, but with thought, courage, and coordination. Over the next hour, humans and loyal aliens worked together to guide the invaders into traps that used Zyphora's natural energy flows. Laser nets reflected off crystal surfaces. Corridors narrowed to force mechanical units to collide, and energy pulses from the environment disrupted the enemy's circuits. Elias's leadership was calm, decisive, and creative, earning the respect of Lysera's people. Finally, the invaders retreated, overwhelmed not by firepower but by ingenuity and restraint. Lysera's eyes shone with amazement. You did not destroy them unnecessarily. You used your mind and your heart together. That is a lesson my people rarely learn. Humans, you are remarkable. Elias bowed slightly. We do what is right, Princess. Strength is not only in force, but in choices, in teamwork, in care for life. Lysera studied him closely. And the armor you wear, beneath it, I can see now. Courage, intelligence, morality. Humans are not defined by protection or weapons, but by the heart beneath. That is what makes your kind dangerous in the best way. You inspire, even without realizing it. For the first time, she removed her full helmet, revealing her face entirely. Her features were elegant and alien, yet the emotion in her eyes was unmistakable. Awe, respect, and a dawning understanding. Elias met her gaze steadily. And what lies beneath your armor, Princess, is the same as ours. Hope, courage, and the willingness to act rightly. The rest is only protection. Lysera smiled faintly. Perhaps your kind will teach my people more than we ever thought possible. Perhaps, together, we can change Zyphora, and perhaps the galaxy, for the better. As they left the chamber, Elias felt a quiet pride. Humanity's strength was not in technology alone, not in power or dominance, but in heart, courage, and ingenuity. And Zyphora's people were beginning to see it too. The trials had revealed much, but Elias knew that even greater challenges lay ahead. Rival factions, fragile alliances, and the mystery of Zyphora itself awaited. Yet he felt ready. With his crew, with his values, and with the heart beneath his armor, he knew humanity could face anything. And somewhere, deep within the Crystal Palace, Princess Lysera wondered if humans might be the key to a future her people had never dared to imagine. The sky above Zyphora darkened as the rival faction advanced. Shadows stretched across the floating crystal forests, and the air buzzed with tension. Captain Elias Marlowe stood on a high platform, overlooking the approaching ships and drones. He had seen their power in small skirmishes, but this was a full-scale attack, designed to seize the planet's energy crystals at any cost. Princess Lysera stood beside him, her armor gleaming faintly in the dim light. She had removed her helmet, revealing her determination. They are more organized than I expected, she said. If they succeed, Zyphora's life forces will be drained. There will be nothing left. Elias clenched his fists. Then we cannot let that happen. We will protect this world, not with just weapons, but with strategy, intelligence, and heart. Everyone, follow my plan exactly. The humans and loyal Zyphorans moved quickly. They positioned energy barriers along the floating crystal paths, created decoy holograms to confuse the enemy, and set traps using the natural energy flows of the planet. The rival faction advanced confidently, but Elias knew that their strength lay in predictability. Human ingenuity would turn their confidence into weakness. The first wave of drones descended onto the crystal plains. Red lights glowed along their surfaces, scanning for targets. Elias directed the humans to spread out, using the uneven terrain to their advantage. A few drones were lured into energy traps that disrupted their circuits, sending them crashing harmlessly into crystal formations. Lysera watched, eyes wide. Your strategies. They are not like anything my people use. You adapt, anticipate, and use the environment. I did not think it possible for outsiders to fight like this. Elias nodded. We have survived by thinking, not just fighting. That is what humans do best. Suddenly, a group of heavily armed ships descended from the sky. The humans and Xiferans scrambled, but Elias remained calm. Focus on coordination, he ordered. Predict their moves, not just react. Use your instincts and teamwork. He took a small shuttle and flew toward the largest enemy ship, carefully dodging its energy blasts. With precise timing, he released a controlled energy pulse that disabled its shields temporarily. Lysera's eyes sparkled with admiration. You risk yourself to protect others. That is courage, true courage, not reckless heroism. Meanwhile, on the ground, Rena and the other crew members worked alongside Xiferan forces to divert drones into traps. Their coordination was seamless, humans and aliens learning from each other, acting as one. Elias realized that the real strength of his team was not just technology, but the human ability to adapt, to trust, and to act with moral clarity. The enemy commander appeared on the battlefield, a massive armored figure bristling with energy weapons. He challenged Elias directly, moving with incredible speed. Elias didn't hesitate. He engaged the commander, using agility, tactics, and the environment to avoid lethal attacks. He could have destroyed him with raw force, but instead, he focused on disabling the weapons and creating openings, showing the enemy that mercy and skill could be more powerful than aggression. Lysera watched, astonished. You do not strike to kill. You strike to end conflict while protecting life. Humans, you are unlike anyone I have seen. The battle raged for hours, but gradually, Elias's strategy turned the tide. Enemy drones were trapped or disabled, ships were redirected into crystal formations that neutralized their energy, and the ground forces worked in perfect coordination. Elias's calm decision-making inspired both his crew and the Xiferan soldiers. Finally, only the enemy commander remained. Elias faced him directly on a high crystal platform, energy crackling around them. The commander raised his weapon, ready to strike, but Elias stood firm. It doesn't have to end in destruction, he said. You can surrender. We protect life here, even yours. For a moment, the commander hesitated, clearly surprised. Elias's unwavering calm, courage, and moral clarity struck something deep. He lowered his weapon. Your people, your choices. They are strange, he said, but I cannot defeat your spirit. You fight not for glory, but for life. Elias nodded. Yes, that is what makes humanity strong. We fight to protect, to survive, and to uphold what is right. With that, the commander retreated, signaling the remaining forces to withdraw. The battle was over. Xiphera was safe, not because of weapons alone, but because of ingenuity, courage, and the human spirit. Lysera approached Elias, her armor now glowing softly in the fading sunlight. You have shown my people what strength truly means. Not dominance, not destruction, but courage, wisdom, and compassion. Humans, your kind, is extraordinary. Elias glanced around at his crew and the Xiferan soldiers. It is not just me. It is all of us working together, thinking, acting with respect for life. That is what makes us strong. Lysera's expression softened. You have not only defended Xiphora, Captain, but you have also taught a lesson my people will not forget. Perhaps we will finally learn that strength is measured by heart, not just by technology. Elias nodded, feeling a quiet pride. The humans had survived, not just because of skill or technology, but because of their courage, their intelligence, and their moral choices. That was the true essence of humanity, the spirit beneath the armor. As the sun set over the crystal forests, the humans and Xiferans began to rebuild and repair the damage. The battle had been hard, but it had revealed something more important than victory. It had shown the power of courage guided by wisdom, and strength guided by morality. Princess Lysera looked at Elias once more. You and your people have changed my perspective. Perhaps one day, humans and Xiphorans can work together not just to survive, but to create a future where both our kinds thrive. Elias smiled faintly. That is our hope. Humanity has always survived by learning, adapting, and protecting life. Perhaps together, we can achieve more than either of our species could alone. Lysera studied him silently, then nodded. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps the heart beneath your armor is the key to something far greater than even we imagined. The battle had ended. But the story of humans on Xiphora was far from over. Elias knew more challenges awaited rival factions, political intrigue, and the mysteries of the planet itself. But one thing was certain. Human courage, ingenuity, and morality had won the day. And for the first time, Princess Lysera truly understood the strength that lay within humanity. The twin suns of Xiphora dipped below the horizon, casting golden light across the crystal forests. For Elias, it was a quiet moment of triumph, not just over an enemy, but in showing the galaxy what humanity truly represented. Heart, courage, and hope beneath every armor. The battle for Xiphora had ended, leaving the crystal forests glowing softly under the twin suns. The enemy had retreated, the planet was safe, and yet the air was filled with a quiet tension. Captain Elias Marlowe walked alongside Princess Lysera, both observing the work of repairing and restoring the damaged crystal structures. Humans and Xiphorans worked together, their movements coordinated, demonstrating not just skill, but mutual trust and understanding. Lysera spoke first, her voice gentle. Captain, you have shown us what humans can do, not just in battle, but in thought, courage, and morality. I underestimated your kind. Elias smiled softly. We don't seek to dominate or conquer. We try to survive and to act rightly. Strength without care is meaningless. Lysera stopped walking and looked at him fully. And yet, beneath all your armor, I see something extraordinary. Your heart, your spirit. It is unlike anything I have known. Elias glanced down at his exosuit, the simple protective armor he always wore. It is just protection. What matters is not what covers us, but what drives us, the choices we make, the courage we show, and the care we give to others. The princess studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she gestured for him to follow her, to a secluded area of the palace, away from the others. The crystal walls reflected light softly, giving the space a calm, almost sacred feeling. I want to show you something, Lysera said. Her hands moved over the surface of a glowing platform, and her armor shifted with a soft hum. Not many outsiders see this. This is my armor, separated from my body. It is alive in a way, but it responds only to me. It protects, enhances, and guides, but it cannot feel. Only I can. Elias stepped closer, observing the intricate design. It is incredible. But I think I understand now. What makes it powerful is not just the technology, but your spirit controlling it. Strength is never only physical. It is in the mind and heart. Lysera smiled faintly. Exactly. And yet, many see only the outer armor. Few notice what lies beneath. She removed her helmet fully, revealing her face. Her eyes were bright, intelligent, and thoughtful. I wanted to know if your kind would see beyond appearances. Elias nodded. We do. We know that courage, morality, and compassion are what define strength. Armor and weapons are only tools. The princess regarded him with something close to admiration. And your kind. Humans. You inspire even without trying. You remind me that the heart beneath the armor is stronger than the armor itself. Elias felt a quiet warmth. That is our hope. To act rightly, even when it is hard. to protect life, to show courage and care. That is what we can offer to any world we touch. Lysera looked at him thoughtfully. I think your people can teach us more than we ever imagined. Perhaps together, humans and Xiphorans can create something stronger than either of us alone, a future built on respect, courage, and understanding. Elias nodded. That is the goal. Not dominance, not conquest, but partnership. Learning from each other. Growing together. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, Lysera spoke again. Captain, you have shown me that strength is not measured in weapons or armor, but in choices, courage, and compassion. I am impressed, and I am grateful. Elias smiled. Thank you, Princess. But it is not just me. My crew, humanity as a whole, has shown that what lies beneath is what matters most. That is our greatest strength. Lysera's eyes shone with quiet understanding. I see it now. The heart beneath your armor. It is the true weapon, the true power, and it is what makes humans extraordinary. The two of them walked together to the edge of the crystal forest, watching as the workers restored broken paths and repaired damaged structures. Humans and Xiphorans moved in harmony, combining technology, thought, and care. Elias realized that this was more than just rebuilding. It was hope, trust, and understanding made visible. Captain, Lysera said softly, what happens now? Will you leave us? Elias shook his head slightly. We cannot stay forever. Earth awaits, and our mission continues. But what we leave behind is not just our technology or skills. It is the example of courage, compassion, and collaboration. That can last far longer than we ever will. Lysera considered his words carefully. Then we will remember. We will teach our people what you have shown us, that strength lies not just in armor, but in heart and choices. That lesson may be more valuable than any technology. Elias looked at the twin suns dipping below the horizon, their light reflecting across the crystal forests. It is our hope, he said, that humanity's spirit can inspire others, not through fear or domination, but through courage, wisdom, and care. That is what makes us strong. Lysera reached out, placing her hand briefly on his arm. I believe you, Captain, and I believe that what you leave behind will change Xiphora forever. Elias nodded. Then our mission is complete. Not in the battle we fought, but in the understanding we have shared. That is the true victory. The princess smiled softly. Perhaps one day, our peoples will meet again. Not as strangers, but as allies. And perhaps then, we will build something together, stronger than either of us alone. Elias turned to his crew, who had gathered silently behind him. Their faces reflected pride, relief, and quiet wonder. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and the unknown, and had emerged not just victorious, but honored as humans whose courage, morality, and ingenuity could inspire even alien civilizations. Captain, Rena said softly. We did it. We really did it. Yes, Elias replied, glancing at the glowing forest. But we did it because we chose to act rightly. That is humanity's greatest weapon. That is the heart beneath our armor. Lysera watched them, a thoughtful expression on her face. I think I understand now. Strength without heart is meaningless. But courage, guided by morality, wisdom, and compassion, that is true power. Humans, you have shown me that. Elias smiled quietly. That is our hope. That is what makes us who we are. As the twin suns set completely, the crystal forests shimmered one last time, reflecting the unity and understanding between two very different species. Xiphora was safe, its people inspired, and humanity's reputation as a courageous and moral force in the galaxy was cemented. Princess Lysera finally looked at Elias, her voice full of sincerity. "Captain, thank you. You and your people have changed Zephyra forever. Not because of technology, not because of weapons, but because of the heart beneath your armor." Elias nodded, feeling a quiet pride. "That is all we ever hope to do. Show the best of humanity and inspire others to act rightly. That is our true mission." With one last glance at the glowing forests, Elias and his crew prepared to depart Zephyra. They had faced the unknown, protected life, and demonstrated that human courage, morality, and ingenuity could shine even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. And somewhere, deep in the Crystal Palace, Princess Lysera looked at her armor, then at the humans leaving, and whispered to herself, "Perhaps, beneath the armor of every human lies a heart capable of changing worlds."